Hello and welcome to week 14 of NUR 1000. First, we'll recap week 13. You did an assignment where you did a peer review of your group project, letting me know how it was going, if you've been in touch with your group partners and all that good stuff. The group projects were all really great. I enjoyed watching them, and now is your turn to start watching them. If you did have any problems with the group project, I have already been in touch with you, so if you missed out on your group project or anything like that, I've reached out to you, so please follow up to any of my emails. You also had to do quiz 3, so let's take a peek at quiz 3. All right, quiz number 3, the first question. The nurse is performing an admission assessment on an adolescent who reports taking extra strength acetaminophen or Tylenol regularly to treat headaches. The nurse will notify the patient's provider and discuss an order for. Correct answer was liver enzymes. We did a little activity learning the differences between acetaminophen and ibuprofen. And one of our takeaways about acetaminophen or Tylenol is that it can be damaging to the liver. So if you have someone taking large doses or taking it for a long period of time, we want to monitor those liver enzymes. Question 2, you needed to indicate the strategic word in the question stem and select the correct answer. The question states, a client returns to the nursing unit from the post-anesthesia care unit or PACU after a transurethral resection of the prostate, a TURP. The nurse would perform which action first? This student identified first as the strategic word, and that is correct. And this student chose between check client's respirations, check the color of the client's urine, check the urinary catheter for patency, and read the nurse's notes written by the PACU nurse. She chose the correct answer of check respirations. So we're using our Maslow's, selecting something physical, and then from the physicals, our ABCs, respiratory is going to be the priority. Question 3, identify the strategic word and select the correct answers. A client has been newly diagnosed with diabetes mellitus. The nurse will perform which action as the first step in teaching the client about the disorder? A is decide on the teaching approach. B, plan for the evaluation of the session. C, gather all available resource materials. Or D, identify the client's knowledge and needs. This student identified the strategic word of first, which is correct. And the student also picked the correct answer, identify the client's knowledge and needs. In order to teach a patient, we first need to know what they know. And from there, we can start our teaching. Question 4, read the question and indicate the correct answer option. For each answer option, explain what about the option makes it correct or incorrect. The question reads, a mother tells the clinic nurse that she does not want her child to receive any immunizations because she has heard that they cause serious illnesses. The nurse would make which appropriate statement to the mother? So the first option was A, are you afraid your child is going to die from the injection? This student put A is incorrect because this statement will make the mother defensive, and you are asking a closed-ended question. Very good. So that's a yes, no, one word answer. That would be inappropriate. And we're sort of making an assumption, we're going beyond illness to death, which we wouldn't want to do. B, why are you afraid? Children are immunized every day without a problem. The student put B is incorrect because you should never start the question with why. It might sound like you're criticizing or judging or making the mother defensive. And that's correct. We don't use why questions, W-H-Y, because they can make the patient defensive. C, there will be a slight discomfort at the time of the injection, but that is all that will happen. Incorrect because you're assuming the mother doesn't want her child to get immunizations. It might seem like you are invalidating her concerns. You are not asking her how she feels about it or to get to the root of the problem. So that's a big takeaway there. This is kind of dismissive, like a little bit of discomfort and that's it. We're not allowing the mother to talk or give us any more information, so that's not correct either. D, I can see you're very concerned about your child. What do you think might happen after an immunization is given? The student put D is correct. You're validating the feelings, correct, and then asking an open-ended question to find out why she's feeling that way and to see how you can help or provide any education. The student picked D as the correct answer, and that is correct. Down to question 5. Client's being taught how to self-administer insulin. The client says to the nurse, I'm not sure I'll be able to do this. What statement by the nurse is most appropriate? A, don't worry, everyone is unsure at first. The student put incorrect communication. You're minimizing the patient's feelings, right? Kind of dismissive. Don't worry about it. We don't want to say that. B, maybe your significant other can give you the shot. B is incorrect. You're not addressing the patient's concerns. You're making assumptions, rather. So B is not correct. She's saying, I'm not sure I will be able to do it. Remember, your answer options usually will relate back to the patient. So this answer option is saying, let's have somebody else do it for you then. But it doesn't give the patient time to talk about their concerns. C, what are your concerns about giving yourself insulin? Correct therapeutic communication because you're using open-ended question to understand the patient's concerns. I would agree. D, you'll be fine once you get used to giving your own shots. D is not correct. You're minimizing the patient's feelings and you're giving false reassurance. The correct answer is C. That is correct. 6, we had some math here. The correct answers for the math were 2 tablets and 1 tablet. For number 7's math, the correct answer was 0.5 mLs. Remember, important that you write it out with the 0 before the decimal. Also important that you write it 0.5 instead of 1/2 for a half. So 0.5 mLs is correct. Let's look at question 8. This wouldn't have graded you right because it wasn't set up as a select all that applies, which is fine. When I read over it, I'll make sure to update any points for it so that it's graded correctly. For question 8, you didn't have to select the correct answer. You had to select the 2 answer options that were comparable or alike. Remember, if you have 2 answer options that are comparable or alike for a multiple choice question, likely neither of those 2 options are correct. This one, the 2 comparable answer options were plums and red apples. They're both fruits, helping you lump those 2 together. It's not always going to be 100%. You could have a question about a certain vitamin in a fruit where one has it and the other one doesn't. But again, just a test-taking strategy that you'll be able to use, especially helpful with eliminating answer options. If you were curious, the correct answer for this one is kidney beans. All right, same thing here for question 9. You selected the 2 comparable or alike answer options. So you're monitoring a patient after a pleural biopsy. The nurse determines the client has experienced a complication when they exhibit what manifestation? Diaphoresis, warm, dry skin, mild pain at the biopsy site, or cap refill of less than 2 seconds. Similar answers are B, warm, dry skin, as well as D, cap refill of 2 seconds. The student put those are both normal findings, which is correct. Also could be indicative of perfusion, right? Both of those, so that could link them together as well, and they're normal. Correct answer for this one is A, diaphoresis or sweating. Question 10, you needed to indicate the strategic word in the answer options and then select the correct answer. So you got which client would the charge nurse assign to the traveling nurse new to the neurologic nursing care who has been on the neural unit for 1 week. So A is a 34-year-old client newly diagnosed with MS. And that's it for that one. We have here newly diagnosed. That is correct. So that's telling us that that person is likely going to need teaching and a little bit more care and time. B, 68-year-old client with chronic ALS. Chronic's the key word here, right? We've linked chronic with a more stable patient, more likely to be delegated. So that one would be on my possible answer list as we review the rest of them. C, 56-year-old with Guillain-Barré syndrome and respiratory distress. Respiratory distress is the key word here. That person is not stable for a new nurse or a nurse not comfortable with the unit they're on. D, 25-year-old recently admitted with a C4 level spinal cord injury. Recently admitted, right? We want to make sure the most seasoned nurse has those recently admitted patients. We're considering them to be less stable because we haven't had enough time to monitor them. Correct answer here is B, and the big key word is that term chronic, which tells us that patient is going to be more stable, less surprises with that patient. All right, let's take a peek at our week 4 expectations to make sure you get through the whole module and don't miss anything this week. For week 14, you'll have a total of 4 recordings to listen to. This is the first recording, the greeting for week 14 that you're listening to. And then you'll have 3 presentations. I believe group 2 doesn't have the voiceover, so you'll just be able to pause the video to look at the slides if you need more time. I think it progresses through kind of quickly. But all 3 presentations have embedded questions for the questions that the group came up with that you have to answer in order to progress through the presentation. Just a reminder that your answers to these presentation questions can't negatively affect your grade. It's incomplete sort of activity that allows you to progress to the discussion board, which is required for the grade. The discussion board activity, remember, initial posting is due by Wednesday at 11:59. Peer response is due by Sunday at 11:59. You want to pick one of the group presentations. So this is important to know prior to watching these presentations so you can sort of have this in the back of your mind when you're watching them. Pick one of the group presentations, not your own, that you've watched. Describe one thing that you learned from the presentation or that you thought the group did a good job describing. Then review the NCLEX category presented in the group project and describe how topics in this area have been presented in your first semester of nursing school at Terrace State. For your peer response, reflect upon the post of a peer and contribute additional information related to the topic. Your activity would be due by Sunday at 11:59. It's some practice questions. They're actual exam questions I use that students have had issues with. So just using your test taking strategies alone, I want you to go in and try to answer those questions correctly, even if it's a topic you don't know much about. So not so much mastering content to answer it correctly, but using the test taking strategies we've learned. Don't worry about looking up correct answers and looking up diseases to try to understand them better. You're only using your test taking strategy, and you'll get full credit as long as you complete the assignment by the due date, regardless of whether your answers are correct or incorrect. Lastly, reminder, your reflection paper is due December 2nd. The Dropbox opens up on November 18th, so you can submit your reflection paper anytime from the 18th until the 2nd at 11:59. Make sure you review the rubric found on Canvas under the Important Information module to ensure you get total credit. This assignment is worth 40 points. So it's a big assignment. You want to make sure you're using the rubric to get full credit, and you want to make sure you get it in on time, especially if you've missed some of the other higher point assignments. It's imperative that you do this, follow the rubric to get full credit, and turn it in on time. Any late submissions will not be eligible for points. If you have any questions as you progress through week 14, just reach out to me. I hope you guys all have a wonderful week.